I want to tell you about what you've been doing for the last several episodes. You came to this show or you found your way where somewhere along the way, because something in you was ready for a different kind of conversation. Not the hustle conversation, not the achievement stacking conversation, the real one. The one about purpose and identity and what it actually means to build a life that is genuinely yours. And you've been doing the work. You've sat with a hollow feeling after achievement and let it tell you what it actually is saying. You've drawn the line between passion and purpose, between energy and responsibility. You've looked honestly at the work you've been building and asked whether it actually matters to you. You've named the fears, responsibility, visibility, the people you might disappoint, and learned to read them as navigation rather than obstruction. You've identified the identity gap, the distance between you, who you are, and who your next level requires. You've surfaced the ceiling beliefs that were never facts, only conclusions. You've learned about the rubber band and gotten tools to hold the expansion. You've sat with the deepest questions of becoming. How do you grow into something new without losing who you are at the core? And you've built the practice of the roots check and the concept of anchored ambition to navigate it. And then, in this last week's theme, we brought all that to manifestation. You've defined it honestly. You've excavated the real desire underneath the goal. You've diagnosed the alignment gap, and you've started to inhabit, not perform, not pretend, actually inhabit the frequency of the next level in your current life. And here's what I want you to understand today. As we close this theme and this series of these past weeks together, all of that, every episode, every framework, every honest moment of looking at the real thing rather than the comfortable version, that work is not the preparation for your manifestation. That work is your manifestation. The person you've been becoming across these 15 episodes, that person is what you're actually calling in all along. Welcome to the episode. Welcome to this next episode on To Purpose Over Paycheck podcast. I'm Troy, Master Coach and Manifesting Mentor. And this last episode for this week, the close of the manifestation and alignment theme, and the close of these past several episode journeys that we've had that began with the question, what happens when success stops being enough? I want to take a moment before we get into the content to honor what has happened across these 3 weeks. Because I don't think we do that enough. Honor the completion of a significant piece of work. And what you have done across these episodes is significant. We have sat with so many different episodes of real inner work. Not content consumption, not content consumption, but inner work. The kind that follows you into the quiet moments and asks something of you. The kind that changes how you see yourself, how you understand what you're building, what you're willing to examine, and what you're willing to let go of. That is not nothing. That is, in fact, everything. Today we close it. And we close it with the most important thing I know how to say about the relationship between who you are becoming and what you are calling in. You are the manifestation. Let me show you what I mean. I want to go back to the very beginning of this theme and pick up a thread that I planted there but didn't fully pull yet. I said that manifestation is the process of bringing your inner world into alignment with the desired outer reality, and then asking aligned action from that place. And I stand by that definition. But today, I want to go one level deeper because I think that definition, as accurate as it is, still describes manifestation as something you do, a practice, a process, a technique, however sophisticated. What I want to offer you today is a different frame entirely. Not manifestation as something you do, manifestation as something you are. Here's what I mean. Most people approach manifestation with the gap in the middle of it. On one side of the gap, me, as I currently am. On the other side, the life I'm trying to call in, and manifestation is that bridge. The practice of closing the gap between here and there. But what if the gap is not the truth? What if the more accurate picture is not two separate things, you and the life, connected by a bridge you have to build? What if the life you've been calling in and the person you've been becoming are not two separate things at all? What if the becoming is the having? What if every step of genuine inner growth, every ceiling belief dismantled, every rubber band moment held, every decision made from the next level identity rather than the old one, is not preparation for the life you want? What if it is the life you want unfolding in real time? The freedom you've been calling in, do you not have more of it now in how you think and decide and move than you did several episodes ago? The significance, have you not claimed more of it in how you show up and what you're building? The aliveness, are you not more genuinely present in your own life than you were when we started? The external circumstances may not have fully caught up yet. That's real. I'm not dismissing it. The income may not be there yet. The full client roster may not be there yet. The visible, measurable external confirmations may still be on its way. But the person who lives in that life, that person is further along than they were several episodes ago. Sustainably, undeniably, in ways that are real, even if they're not fully visible yet from the outside. And that person, the one being built through this work, is the manifestation. The most important one, the one everything else follows. I want to pull the thread. All three themes, episode by episode, one through line. We started with a problem, not a dramatic one, a quiet one. The problem of having done everything right and still feeling like something was missing. The achievement plateau, the hollow feeling after the win, the signal that success, as most people define it, had a ceiling. And that ceiling was not a failure of ambition, but of invitation towards something deeper. We named the deeper thing purpose. And it did the work of separating purpose from passion, from achievement, from external validation. Most of us were raised to equate with meaning. It built the framework for meaningful work, the intersection of skill, service, and identity. And it reframed fear as the navigation system, pointing towards the next real thing. It closed with the integration, a new definition of success that is yours to write, anchored in alignment and contribution rather than applause. Then we took purpose and asked the harder questions. Okay, I know what I'm here to do, but who do I have to become to actually do it? It named the identity gap, and we went inside. It surfaced the ceiling beliefs, the conclusions drawn from old experiences that had quietly become the walls of life. It named the rubber band and gave you tools to hold your expansion through it. And it closed with the deepest question of becoming. How do you grow into the next version of yourself without losing the essential core that makes you, you? Anchored ambition, the roots check, the recognition that you are already the person you've been waiting to become. You've been this the whole time. And then we named it correctly, manifestation. Not as a technique layered on top of unchanged inner life, as the natural expression of genuine alignment, belief, identity, action pointed in the same direction toward a life that is genuinely yours. It excavated the real desire underneath the goal. It diagnosed the gaps that stall even sincere practice. It built the embodiment, the daily practice of living as if it already is done from genuine inhabitation rather than performance. And now, here, it closes with this. The through line that connects all these themes into not a technique or practice or framework. It is a person. you. The version of you that has been building across all these episodes of honest, sustained, courageous inner work. The purpose you named, that is the direction. The identity you've been rebuilding, that's the vehicle. The manifestation you've been calling in, that is where it all arrives. Not as a destination, as a person, as the ongoing, deepening, expanding reality of who you are becoming. That is the thread, and you've been weaving it this whole time. I want to do something in this segment that I don't usually do in closes. I want to give you a real inventory, not of the framework and tools, though those are real and they're yours, but of the inner things. The shift that happened inside you across these episodes that are harder to see than a framework, but more valuable than any of them. You have clarity you didn't have before. Not perfect clarity, real clarity. About what your work is actually for, about who you're serving and why this matters, about the difference between the version of success that is handed to you and the one you are now consciously building. That clarity is yours. It doesn't evaporate when the podcast episodes end. It lives in how you make decisions. You have self-knowledge you didn't have before. You have named the beliefs that were running your show without your awareness. You know which of the 4 ceiling beliefs has been your ceiling. You know where the rubber band pulls hardest. You know which of the 3 alignment gaps is most active in your manifestation right now. That self-knowledge is not theoretical. It is a diagnostic tool. It tells you where to work with precision rather than where to push harder with effort. You have language you didn't have before, the identity gap. Be before you do, the rubber band effect, anchored ambition, the roots check, the filling bridge, the inner posture of already. These are not just vocabulary, they are handles. Ways of grabbing onto the real thing that is happening in your inner life and working with it consciously rather than being run by it unconsciously. Language creates leverage. And you now have language for the things that used to be formless to address directly. You have evidence you didn't have before. Every time you did the assignment, wrote the description on the next level you, ran the roots check on a real decision, named the alignment gap and took one targeted action to close it, chose inhabitation over performance even briefly, you built evidence. Real, lived, accumulated evidence that the new identity is possible, that the new story is true, that the new person you are becoming is not a fantasy but a real reality in progress. And you have permission you didn't have before. Permission to want what you actually want. Permission to become someone your old self wouldn't fully recognize. Permission to take up the space your purpose requires, to charge what your work is worth, to lead from your own authority rather than borrowed credentials, to build the life that is genuinely yours rather than the one that looks right from the outside. Clarity, self-knowledge, language, evidence, permission. Those are not small things. Those are the architecture of a different life. And you have them now. I want to talk about what manifestation looks like from here after this theme in the real ongoing texture of your life, because I think one of the things that happens when a structure learned experience ends is that people worry about losing their thread and not about being able to maintain the practice without the scaffolding of weekly episodes holding it together. So I want to name what the ongoing practice actually looks like. Not a rigid system, a set of living principles that you return to as they become relevant. The ongoing practice is like this. When something stalls in your work, in your relationship, in your progress toward what you're building, you don't panic and you don't push harder. You diagnose. You go to the 3 alignments levels, and honestly, which one of those out of alignment, you find the gap and you close it with the most targeted action available rather than with one more effort applied to the wrong problem. When you face a significant decision, one that will shape the direction of your new life or your work, you don't make it from urgency or from fear or from the need for approval. You run the roots check. You ask which version of yourself is making the decision, and you make it from the next level version with the full awareness of your values and core and where you're actually going. When the rubber band pulls, and it will, because growth is not a one-time event, you do not shame yourself for snapping back. You name it. You return the anchor. You take one action with 24 hours from the expanded identity rather than the contracted one. And you celebrate the noticing, because the noticing is the winning. When the desire feels distance, when the vision board feels like a decoration rather than a direction, you go back to the excavation. You find the real desire underneath the goal, the feeling, and you build the bridge, one real, genuine access point to the feeling in your current life, however small, however brief. You let it be evidence, and you make one decision from that feeling rather than from the lack of it. And when you find yourself waiting to feel ready, waiting for the fear to pass, waiting for the circumstances to shift before you show up as the person you've been building toward, you remember the identity is not ahead of you. The inhabiting is what creates the readiness, and you stop waiting and you show up as who you already are. That is the ongoing practice, not a morning routine. A way of moving, a way of relating to the inner life as the primary terrain of your results, rather than as the soft optional add-on to the real work of strategy and execution. This is the work, and now you know how to do it. I want to close this content portion of this episode with something that I think often gets left out in personal development conversations, and that I believe is actually the most important thing. We've been talking about this work in terms of you, your purpose, your identity, your beliefs, your manifestation, your next level. And that's appropriate because the inner work has to start with you, and you can't build from a foundation you haven't laid. But the reason the inner work matters, the reason I give all these episodes of my life to this conversation, the reasons you have all these episodes of yours to receiving it, it is not ultimately about you. It's about what becomes possible in the world because you did this work. The clients you will serve from a place of genuine alignment, not from performing competence, but from actually being rooted in your purpose and your craft, will receive something different from you than you have ever from the version of you who hasn't done this work. They will feel the difference, even if they can't name it. They will be changed by it in the ways that ripple outward into their own lives and work and relationships. The people in your life, your partner, your family, your friends, your community, will live alongside a version of you who is more present, more honest, more fully themselves. And that presence, that genuine aliveness we talked about as one of the 5 core desires, is contagious. It gives other people permission to be more themselves. It demonstrates through living that the expanded life is the possible, that the purpose-driven, identity-grounded, fear-navigated, aligned life is not a fantasy for other people or for some future version of you. It is available right now to someone who looks a lot like you. The conversations you will have, the content you will create, the leadership you will offer, the honest, true things you will say in rooms that need someone to say them. Those conversations will matter to specific people in specific moments in ways you will never fully be able to track or measure. They will land on someone who needed exactly that, who was waiting for the exact permission, the reframe, the recognition that you are now equipped to offer because you did the work. That is what is at stake in the inner work, not just your next level. Everyone whose next level depends on you showing up fully yours. Do not underestimate what is made possible in the world when one person decides to stop performing their life and start genuinely living it. I want to close the way I've closed the biggest moments of shows, with the letter. Not to the listener in general, to you, the specific person who has been here, through all these episodes who came to this show because something in them was ready to be different, of a conversation, and who has, in their own way and at their own pace, been doing the work. You did something rare. In a world that offers an infinite supply of content that you will tell what to do, you had how to optimize, what systems to implement, what the 7 steps are. You chose something different. You chose the harder conversation, the one about who you are and why it matters and what you're actually here to do. And you stayed with it. Across episodes that were comfortable and episodes that were uncomfortable. Across weeks that were the work landed easy and weeks where it asked something of you that was genuinely hard to give. You stayed. I want you to know that I know what that costs. It's not nothing to look honestly at the beliefs that have been running your life. It's not nothing to name the identity gap and decide to close it. It's not nothing to sit with the fear around your purpose and choose, episode by episode, to let it be navigation rather than obstruction. It is not nothing, and you did it. Here's what I want to leave you with. Not as a framework, not as a coaching point, but as someone who has walked this road and is still walking it and believes without reservation in what happens to a person who commits to this kind of inner work. The life you've been building toward, the purpose aligned genuinely your life, it's not ahead of you like a destination. It is around you right now in the process of becoming real. In every decision you make from that next level version of yourself, in every ceiling belief you examine rather than obey, in every moment you choose inhabitation over performance, expansion over contraction, the aligned yes over the fearful one. It is becoming real right now in you, through you, as you. And the person on the other side of all this work, the version of you who has done this becoming, who has closed the gap, who has lived the roots check and the anchored ambition and the inner posture of already, that person is not someone you're waiting to meet. You have been meeting them this whole time. Go be them. I'm Troy, Master Coach, Manifesting Mentor. This is Onto Purpose Over Paycheck. And we now close this week's theme, Manifestation and Alignment. It is closed. It is complete. And wherever you go from here, you go as someone who knows who they are and why it matters. I am honored to have been on this road with you. So, make sure you continue to follow this podcast. Make sure you continue to give us a rating. Make sure you continue to leave us some comments. And I cannot wait to start a new theme and keep building and making progress to the new you when we think about onto purpose over paycheck. With that said, I will see you in the next episode.